I assure you, the moments in this list will never be repeated again. Not because of the talent that cannot be replicated, no, but because these incidents are so incredibly bizarre that they cannot possibly happen twice in a lifetime. These are the top 10 craziest moments in football history. Number 10. The chloroform incident. Montevideo, the semi-finals of the first ever World Cup, Argentina versus the USA, July 1930. The Americans were growing increasingly displeased with what they perceived to be roughhouse tactics from the Argentinians. So much so, in fact, after one particularly heavy foul, the US trainer leapt from the bench and raced onto the field of play to remonstrate with the referee. In his anger, he threw his medical bag to the floor, cracking open a bottle of chloroform and knocking himself spark out, completely unconscious. Number 9. Wild Goat Halt game. It's not uncommon to hear young whippersnappers refer to Messi or Ronaldo as the GOAT. However, it is slightly less common for the actual farm animal to appear on a pitch. But that's exactly what happened in a Sudan top-flight league game between Al Hilal and Al Shorta, when a lost and confused goat wandered onto the field of play and brought the game to a shuddering halt, with both players, unsurprisingly, looking on utterly bewildered. It was eventually shepherded from the pitch, and Al Hilal secured a narrow 1-0 victory, with Al Shorta making the animal their scapegoat. Number 8. Mua Alunga. Zaire were a shock qualifier for the 1974 World Cup in West Germany. Being the first non-Arab African side to qualify for the tournament, there was enormous pressure on them, with the country's leader Mobutu Sese Seko informing the players that should they lose by 4 or more goals to Brazil, there would be devastating consequences. It is perhaps more understandable then why Zaire defender Mua Alunga, when facing a free kick 25 yards out against dead ball specialist Jarzinho, decided "F this" and ran up before the whistle had blown for taking the free kick and absolutely twatted the ball up the other end. The referee issued the plucky defender a yellow card, though it was Alunga who had the last laugh, as his side only lost by 3 goals, and the team were allowed to return home unscathed. Not necessarily with their heads held high, but at least they still had them. Number 7. French ref lashes out. It's not unusual for scuffles to break out on the pitch between players, but for a referee to lash out at a player is a whole other story. The incident occurred in a 2018 League One game between PSG and Nantes, and it involved current Aston Villa centre-back Diego Carlos and referee Tony Chaperon. Now you're probably thinking Carlos said something nasty like making fun of his shiny bald head, or perhaps he made a joke about his mum, but no, the two collided completely by accident, sending the official tumbling to the turf, where he would kick out at Carlos in anger, before having the audacity to show the Brazilian a red card. Number 6. Mothgate. A match that should have been remembered for Ronaldo's first ever international trophy, thanks to Eder's extra time winner, was arguably more memorable for being overrun by moths, who terrorised the entire final, latching onto all of the players and the ball consistently throughout the game. The freak incident was due to summer migration, where moths had moved north for new breeding grounds. Combine this with the stadium lights, which allegedly had been left on from the night before, and the end result was thousands upon thousands of moths descending upon the biggest game of the year. Number 5. Arsenal versus Dynamo Moscow, 1945. A friendly match between Arsenal and Dynamo Moscow from nearly 80 years ago. Doesn't sound like the most memorable thing ever, but this is one of the most bizarre games of all time. With thick fog causing serious vision impairment, the players requested the match to be abandoned. The referee, however, had other ideas and refused to stop the game. So that was the cue for both teams to completely bend the rules, with Dynamo making a sub without subbing the player off, and even managed to have 15 players on the pitch at one point. Arsenal, not to be outdone, brought their red-carded player back onto the pitch without the referee even noticing. But the best one is an Arsenal fan walking onto the pitch and replacing the injured goalkeeper, who had walked himself into the post and sparked himself out cold. Dynamo won 4-3, but this game is not remembered for the score. Number 4. Referee loses his teeth. This entry from a Danish league back in 1957 between Norrager and Ebeltoft saw a goal being ruled out for an incident that the referee didn't even see. Norrager were leading 4-3, hanging on desperately with onslaught after onslaught from Ebeltoft, and finally, the equaliser came. Yeah, there was a problem. The game was meant to finish 5 minutes earlier, but referee Henning Erikstrup had been unable to blow his whistle, as he had lost all of his teeth. He was too busy searching the pitch for his gnashers that he had missed the goal completely, and it was eventually ruled out due to being 5 minutes after the scheduled end to the game. The Ebeltoft players then went up to the referee and got a bit lippy. Number 3. owner brings Gunn onto the pitch. A 2018 game between PAOK and AEK Athens, two of Greece's biggest teams, saw one of the most bizarre and terrifying incidents in football history, when the owner of PAOK took extreme exception to an offside goal being ruled out when he stormed the pitch in the middle of the game. Pretty bad, but this gets a lot worse when cameras pan to his hip, where he very evidently had a holstered gun on his person. The AEK players left the pitch in fear of their lives, and the Greek league was suspended due to his actions. He was banned from attending matches for 3 years, and PAOK were docked 3 points, ending their title hopes. Thankfully, he's the owner, otherwise he would have been fired. Seriously? Number 2. Darren Bent's beach ball goal. The most bizarre goal in Premier League history occurred in 2009 when Darren Bent's tame effort left Liverpool keeper Pepe Reina with no chance. That is due to interference on its way into the net via a beach ball, a Liverpool branded one of that. Bent's strike was going to be comfortably saved, but the massive deflection it took via a fan-thrown beach ball left the Spanish keeper dumbfounded and standing still, wondering where his life had gone wrong. Both teams, fans, and the ref were clueless as to how to react. Eventually, the referee shrugged and thought, "F it," and awarded the goal, and Sunderland fans erupted, with this being the only goal of the game. And number 1, Sergei Schock. It's not uncommon for fans to berate a referee with, "Are you drunk, ref?" However, it is slightly less common for those fans to be correct. This was the case in a 2008 game in the Belarusian Premier League between Vitebsk and Naftan. The referee in question, Sergei Schock, a well-respected referee who even reffed an England game in 2007, who rather astonishingly was voted Belarus's best referee the year prior. What in God's name are the other refs up to? Fans started to realise something was wrong when Smolik spent most of his game hunched over, waving his arms like he was an inflatable tube man, and blowing the whistle randomly throughout the game. Claims that his actions were down to a bad back were quickly refuted when high levels of alcohol were found in his system, which would result in this being his final ever appearance as a referee. And that's our list. Did we miss anything out? If you can think of any truly absurd moments, leave them below in the comments, and maybe they'll feature in our next list. Don't forget to subscribe to Clan Jackal if you want to see more lists like these. Bye!